everybody. It is my honor to be part of this wonderful conference about anti-corruption movement, even though it is a virtual conference. I'm enjoying this conference with a high expectation. I hope every participant enjoy the conference as much as possible. Today, I want to talk about corruption and economic development, especially in developing countries, based on my research and work experience in several countries. For the last 20 years, I have given many series of seminars mainly about strategic development of a sustainable economy in developing countries, which is simply about economic development in developing country. And development in developing country is one of the hot topics and in those countries because they are very serious about developing their economy. During and after seminars, there were many questions from the audience or participant in the seminar. Also, there are many different questions from country to country. There is one common questions, and most of the time, and they have in all those countries. Why, and it is this one, why did many developing countries fail in economic development, even though some of them had a huge potential with all favorable conditions for developing a strong economy? And this is one of the common questions. Also, everybody want to know this one very seriously. Yes, there are many reasons for it. And it means every expert could have different answers based on their experience, also from different perspectives. Actually, as you know, and this is one of the hot topics in economic development. I don't want to debate it here, but wanted to share my findings based on my research and work experience since 1980s. Anyway, back to the question I got every time when I have my seminar. And here is what my answer is. Here is what I did whenever I got that questions. I usually talk about two countries. Almost all economists or experts pick as a successful case of economic development, and they are Korea and Singapore. And these two countries are still regarded as model countries for most of the developing countries who want to develop their economy. And because these two countries develop their economy in just a short amount of time without any favorable conditions. And actually, these two countries, I'm talking about Korea and Singapore, are only two ex-colonies who have transformed their countries from a very poor to one of the most dynamic economy right now. As we know, after World War II, many newly independent countries in Asia tried to develop their countries in 60s and 70s, and some of them even the 80s. And also, almost at the same time, and many countries, most of the countries in South America also try to develop their economy with ambitious plan. Today, we know, and most of those countries are still poor, and their economies are not developed yet to their potential. Now, we have our own questions from this case. What happened to those countries? Those countries in Asia, those countries in South America who failed in their economic development. Now, I already talked about Korea and Singapore, and what made the difference between Korea and Singapore and other countries. Two groups. One is Singapore and Korea, two countries, and the other group, all other countries in Asia and South America, also the Africa or some other area. And what made the difference between these two groups? Why and most of those countries in Asia and South America failed in developing their economy. And very interesting. And when we look at their conditions, and first look at Korea and Singapore, and these two countries have no major natural resources. They don't have enough oil and gas. For example, Korea, they don't have any gas, any oil, so they import oil and gas 100% from other countries. And they don't have any minerals. Singapore may be worse, and it's a small, tiny and country, which is actually island. Even they don't have enough drinking water. And even though, they try to build some high, tall buildings, they have to import the sand and from neighboring countries. That means, and Singapore, Korea, they don't have any major natural resources. But look at those countries and other groups, and Indonesia, Brazil, Thailand, Philippines, Ghana, and they have a huge amount of natural resource such as gas, oil, and gold, diamond in Ghana, and but very interesting. And Korea and Singapore are very successful in terms of developing their economy, but all others who have huge amount of natural resource are failed. And so, what made difference? The difference is actually leadership. And actually, the in developing economy is like developing or building a house. So there are usually four pillars needed, and one main pillar is leadership. Now, when we look at leadership in those countries, I'm I'm talking about these two different groups here. The leadership needed for developing strong economy should have some important quality or attribute, like what? Stable leadership and vision providing leadership, knowledgeable leadership, and also what? Clean and also transparent leadership. This last one is more important than anything else, especially in developing countries. And Korea and Singapore had such a leadership during their economic development period in 60s through 80s. Very strong, but clean and transparent, also uncorrupt leadership, and especially in the top. Uh, Actually, and when we are talking about strong leadership usually what tended to be corrupt easily. But very interesting in Korea and Singapore when they developed their economy during those time period and very strong leadership. But these strong leaderships are very very clean and also not corrupt. That actually made a big difference. And furthermore, the leadership of both Korea and Singapore and declared the war against corruption nationwide and positioned themselves as a commander in chief or the supreme commander in the war against corruption. So they, these two countries' leaders, try to eliminate all kind of corruption and in their government. So they, they become a supreme command of war against corruption. So this is, the very, very important. In other words, I think this is a very important lesson. All leadership in developing countries who want to develop their countries should learn. And I'm originally from Korea, South Korea, and in South Korea they have all the saying that, and without cleaning the source of water, and you cannot have clean water eventually. And I think that this is true for what leadership and corruption. And when we have anti-corruption measures and movement, it should begin with the top. Otherwise, everything is in vain. Like water and air, look at the water and air. The water and air, and the flow is always from higher to low, air from higher pressure to low pressure. So power is the same. Power is coming down from top to bottom. So if and we have corrupt leaders in the top, and it is very, very hard to clean everything in whole the government. So if we want to try to clean water in low level, we have to clean the top, or the even source of water. Otherwise, we cannot have clean water at all. This is the reason why, and many countries fail, even they have a very strong anti-corruption measure or movement, and they focus on low level of corruption. And usually those country leaders who are very strong, and they believe they are exception, which is wrong. If they are corrupt, and you cannot make the what corruption-free government, corruption-free countries. So, and having clean and corruption-free leadership in the top is more critical than anything else for economic development. And again, Korea and Singapore had such a leadership, and fortunately, during the economic development period. Virtually most of other countries, I'm talking about the other group, and most countries in Asia, most countries in South America, who started economic development, some countries in the 60s, some countries in the 70s, so almost the same time as Korea and Singapore. Korea started their economic development in 1962, Singapore and late 60s after they become independent in 1965. And most of other countries were not able to develop their economy because of bad leadership with corruption. In other words, due to corruption, especially in the top, and they could not develop their countries, even with a huge potential with abundant amount of natural resource. Corruption misuse resources or allocate their resource in wrong ways. Eventually, corruption kills any chance of developing a sustainable economy in the country. Corruption exploits the country's wealth and destroy innocent people's lives. That's the reason why you cannot get any consensus from your people for developing your country. So here is a conclusion. And if you want to develop your country as an attractive nation with a sustainable economy, your country should have a clean, transparent leadership with visions. This is the first and most critical necessary conditions for economic development. This is what I found from my research and work experience and for a long time. So actually, corruption is the most critical impediment or obstacle to economic development. So if you want to develop your country's economy, and most important one is to have clean, transparent, and corruption-free leadership. This is what I found. I want to share and these findings with you today. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity to share my findings with you. I appreciate your participation. Please stay and safe and healthy, everybody. Now, still, we are in, this pandemic. So, anyway, thank you very much. Okay, good luck. Bye.